The year is 1622. The Portuguese stand at the edge of West Africa, arrogant and armored, believing they are invincible. Their mission is clear: expand the slave trade, conquer new lands, and crush anyone who dares resist. But what they didn't expect was her. She walks into the room, barefoot, head held high, draped in regal cloth, her eyes sharp as blades. There is no throne for her. The Portuguese governor offers her no seat, a silent insult. So she gestures to one of her guards. Without hesitation, the warrior drops to the ground on all fours. She sits on his back, calm, poised, and unbothered. A queen will not kneel. This is Queen Nzinga, ruler of Ndongo and Matamba. Warrior, diplomat, general, and for over 30 years, she will lead a fierce resistance against one of the most powerful empires the world has ever known. Born around 1583 in the region we now call Angola, Nzinga was royalty, but in a world where women were not expected to lead armies or negotiate with colonizers. Her brother, the king, underestimated her until he couldn't anymore. She spoke Portuguese fluently. She understood war, but also diplomacy. When her brother failed to stop the Portuguese from stealing land and capturing her people for slavery, Nzinga took matters into her own hands. At that infamous meeting in Luanda, she negotiated peace, secured the release of enslaved Africans, and was even baptized as Dona Ana de Souza to gain political favor. But it was a trap. The Portuguese broke the treaty. They invaded, and then Nzinga's brother, humiliated and paranoid, died, some say by suicide. And so she rose. At a time when women were expected to stay silent, Nzinga declared herself queen. Rival chiefs laughed. The Portuguese dismissed her, but she was not here to ask permission. She built alliances with neighboring kingdoms. She trained her army, personally leading them into battle. She welcomed runaway slaves and trained them as warriors. She turned refugees into rebels. For years, her forces harassed Portuguese forts, burned supply routes, and ambushed slave caravans. She knew the terrain, rivers, jungles, cliffs, and used it like a weapon. One of her most daring moves. She struck an alliance with the Dutch, the enemies of the Portuguese. She offered them trade in exchange for weapons. When Dutch soldiers landed, Nzinga's army joined them, surrounding Portuguese positions and nearly retaking the capital. But the tide would eventually turn. The Dutch left, the Portuguese returned with force. And Nzinga, now in her 60s, led her people deeper into the interior, refusing to surrender. Years passed, decades, and still she fought. Not just on the battlefield, but in diplomacy. She offered peace on her terms, not theirs. She promised trade without slavery, freedom for her people. She would rather die in exile than rule under foreign chains. At last, in 1657, now over 70 years old, she signed a final treaty, but this time on equal footing. No slave raids, no puppet rulers, no submission. Queen Nzinga died peacefully in 1663, aged 81, a remarkable feat in itself. But more remarkable is this. For 4 decades, she resisted colonization, defended her people, and outwitted one of the most ruthless empires in history. She proved that leadership is not given, it is taken, and that the spirit of resistance is not bound by gender, age, or empire. Today in Angola, she is remembered as a national hero. Statues bear her name. Streets honor her memory. And across Africa and the world, her story reminds us there is power in dignity, there is power in defiance, and sometimes one woman can stand alone against an empire and win